The preceding program was brought to you in part by Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. It's actually RiverCog night tonight on the Pete Mezzetti Show. And to discuss what's going on with the RiverCog is Executive Director Sam Gold and Susie Beckman. Sam, how are you?
I'm good. It's been a long time.
Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you again.
Hello, Susie.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
It's great to see you again.
Long time no see.
I used to be in Old Saybrook, and now I'm happy to be working at RiverCog.
I know you used to be in Old Saybrook. That means you used to hang out with a old what's-his-face?
First Selectman Carl Fortuna.
And you still do?
Who is one of our bosses still.
He is.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
He's on our board.
That's right.
As are all the First Selectmen in the county and Lyme and Old Lyme.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. Sam, tell us a little bit about your background and how you became executive director at RiverCog.
Oh, sure. I'm originally from upstate New York, but I'm getting very close to have lived in Connecticut longer than I lived in New York. So, So in a year or two, I'll be a majority nutmaker. But for now, I grew up in upstate New York, went to school, got my master's degree in Buffalo. Okay. And then after that, got a job working at the Council of Governments in Waterbury. And was spent 10 years there, left as the executive director of the Waterbury COG, and came here and have been director for the last 11 years.
You like it?
I've stayed this long.
Of course you do.
Yes. No, this is obviously everyone here knows this, but it's one of the most beautiful parts of the state, and we have just a gem of a region, and it's a great place to work.
Right. So exactly what does the RiverCog do?
All right, so I'll give you a little briefing on what the COGs are and who we are. So in much of the country, we have counties. Yes. And so where I come from, where I grew up in upstate New York, you had the town and city governments, and you also had the county government. Right. Well, in Connecticut, we never really had true county government. There were counties at one point. They did very little. And by 1959, the General Assembly abolished counties. What was left of counties was mostly patronage. They didn't have much in the way of powers, and so to make it more clean, everything was given to the towns. Right. And these regional organizations were set up, starting in the 1960s, where the towns joined these regional organizations, and the chief elected officials of those municipalities would come together to work on projects of common concern. Right. And there are a number of different responsibilities the COGs have acquired over the years. Some of our biggest responsibilities are in the areas of transportation planning. Right. The federal government has entrusted in our first selectmen and mayors and town managers the power to approve federal funding of federally funded transportation projects. Right. So it's a little bit of check on state power by the local officials. We also really work on anything that needs to be addressed at a higher level and affects more than one town. We have, and a big thing in our region, of course, is protecting our unique natural environment. Right. And we work on a number of different projects of keeping invasive plants out of the river or combating the ones that are there. Right. Working on preserving the landscape, making sure that new development as it's being planned and built works with the environment and the landscape, and making sure that the decisions in one town don't negatively impact decisions in another town. Everyone's working together in the same direction.
Right.
So, so each city and town, we have 169 of them in Connecticut, is member of a council of governments, and your first selectman, mayor, town manager is your representative on our board. So, so instead of being a separate government, like a county government would be, we are an extension of your municipal government.
Got it.
We work for your first selectman. We work for the chief executive and elected officials that you voted in. So that is our board of directors, and that's who we report to. And they're the ones who create our work programs and provide guidance as to which direction we should go in.
Susie, you have something you would like to add?
No, I think Sam explained it very well.
Okay, well, all right.
That kind of gives you the overview of how this works. It's very collaborative.
Yeah.
And unlike a county government, we don't have any authority to tax or to force any local government to do anything. But the reason we have to be, so that requires us to be cooperative and collaborative.
And really, it's about consensus.
Right.
It's about we aren't partisan. Our elected officials, of course, may be RD, independent. Right. But when they come to the COG, they're there as a part of a team.
Right.
And I think that's something that I've always appreciated about working during my career at Council of Governments is that the politics stays in the town hall. And it's about addressing issues, addressing problems, and coming together and providing support. Because you look at the map, like we're sort of in between, much more populous areas.
Right.
You got New Haven, you got Hartford, you got Norwich, New London, and our issues, although we have a smaller population, our issues are important too.
Right.
And the towns up and down this river valley share a lot in common and find strength in actually working together.
Okay.
Yeah. So and I think this is probably one of the most fun jobs you can have because we get to work on like all sorts of different topics. And
like what?
So as I mentioned, transportation planning, and your good friend Brendan Garrity is a RiverCog employee.
Yes, he is.
He works supporting River Valley Transit, our local bus company.
That's right.
And many of you might remember Ninetown Transit or Middletown Area Transit.
Yeah.
That merger of those two bus companies was something that was facilitated through RiverCog. And hiring of Brendan was a way of sort of helping create that new identity, create those new bus routes, and Brendan has done a great job working with Joe Comerford as well over there, and so that's one example of a regional project, a regional service that RiverCog can provide. Other areas where we are very involved is housing planning. It's been a very hot topic in the last few years. Up in Hartford in the General Assembly, there was a special session back in November that passed a new housing law, and it puts in the COG's laps some new responsibilities for creating housing plans and assisting the towns and regions address our housing issues. So I think that will be something that will be very exciting as we move forward in that process over the next few years.
Now, as far as how do you guys work with the legislature? Pretty closely?
Yeah. One thing that's kind of fun about our board is until recently we had two legislators on our board. With Norm Needleman of Essex, Senator Needleman, but also First Selectman of Essex, and we had Irene Haynes, the First Selectman of East Haddam, and Representative Haynes. She's retired from being First Selectwoman of East Haddam, but she stays on as our rep.
Okay.
But we have relationships with our legislators up and down the river, and many of them do attend our meetings from time to time. And I think we have. Well, when it's come to legislative issues up in Hartford, I would say that we punch above our weight class.
Yeah.
Because we all work together and we all kind of come together on the issues that are important to us. So I've been. So I think over the years that I've been at RiverCog, I've sort of seen us working together as a team and seeing real benefits for us.
Now, what is Representative Haynes like?
She's fun.
Is she? She's probably one person who's never sat down with me and been interviewed by me.
Well, I'm going to miss her as one of our first selectmen.
Right.
But no, she's a lot of fun, very energetic, and always coming up with interesting ideas that she'll bounce off of me about how we can do this or do that. And one fun project, we were trying to assist her in the town of East Haddam and also the town of Lyme on how to get some money to fix up Gillette Castle. And,
really?
Yes.
Cool.
There's an interesting connection there between Japanese American history with Mr. Gillette's. I guess the term was manservant.
Okay.
And his house that we were trying to get rehabilitated to be an important sort of educational resource about the connection between this small town in Connecticut and the Prime Minister of Japan and the mayor of Tokyo, who was his brother, who gave the the cherry trees to Washington D.C. 100 years ago, but also helped rebuild Japan after the war.
Really?
So there's a really interesting connection.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Would you guys mind sticking around for another segment?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
Shoppers depend on customer reviews to make the right decisions, but as sellers continually find new ways to craft fake reviews and hire thousands of people to post them, getting rid of every fake review quickly is nearly impossible. Look out for generic reviewer profiles. If a reviewer has a very common or generic name, you've spotted a red flag. Read reviews by customers with verified purchases, meaning the reviewer bought the product on the same site where they wrote the review. Examine the quality and timing of product reviews. If you notice a product has several 5-star or 1-star reviews with just a word or two in the written portion of the review, or if the reviews use language that is generic, studded with irrelevant details, or overly enthusiastic, you may be looking at a fake review. This is especially true if you notice multiple similar reviews posted during a short window of time. The rise of generative AI has made it much easier to post fake reviews and harder for customers to spot them. So it's a good idea to check multiple websites and compare reviews of an item or service. If you spot a scam, report it to BBB Scam Tracker. That's bbb.org/scam tracker.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Sam Gold and Susie Beckman from River Kayak. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Sam, so we were talking in the first segment right before the break about...
William Gillette. So
yes.
William Gillette's servant was named Osaki.
Okay.
And as a reward for his many years of service to William Gillette, and also during his time, William Gillette built a house on the property.
Okay.
And Mr. Osaki built a Japanese style gardens, and there's a whole story here that is rarely heard of the story of Asian Americans, particularly in Connecticut.
Really?
You think of the West Coast, you think of immigration from Japan and China and East Asia coming onto that part of the country, but here's a direct connection to a family that was one of the most consequential families in Japanese history,
right.
and that was just a fun project to work with First Selectman Haynes on. So
okay,
yeah, and hopefully you can get her on the show.
Yeah, hold on.
we can throw.
I was going to say,
yeah.
well, maybe after session we'll figure out, because right now everybody's getting ready to go back into session, so it's going to be.
And you better get her before she retires from the General Assembly. So you have a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Susie, so what do we? I believe we want to plug something.
I do want to plug something. Yes. Well, Sam gave a great explanation of what RiverCog does, how we work with the towns, and I just wanted to mention planning for a little bit, and the fact that we do planning at the local level, we do planning at the regional level as well, to look at a larger focus. And one of the things people think, hear about are plans, and you worry about plans sitting on a shelf. But when
Right.
we're talking about plans, we're talking about real long range problem solving.
Gotcha.
So a lot of times you're not seeing results right away.
Okay.
But it is important to have these plans. Now, first and foremost, because it demonstrates forethought.
Right.
And especially when we're going for grant funds or we
Right.
want to fund a project,
Yes.
it's important to have that written down.
Yes.
And another piece of the plan is public input.
Yeah.
And that's really important. And when people see a request for input, don't think it doesn't mean you. Think
Yeah.
we need your input as the public, as a resident of a town, as a resident of Rivercog. If you see something, a survey, a link, a QR code, please use it.
Right.
Please give us your opinion, because that all will be folded into the plan.
And if I may, thank you,
Yes.
Susie, for talking about public involvement. Two very important projects that we have ongoing right now
Yes.
is update of our natural disaster plans.
Okay.
So Rivercog has over the years been responsible for creating plans for the known hazards. We know that we're susceptible to hurricanes and tropical storms. We know we're susceptible to flooding and snowstorms and,
Yes.
and those types of natural disasters. So we work with the towns on creating plans of how we can identify the problems in our towns and help mitigate them and try to avoid future damage and destruction in the future. So
Right.
we're in the process of updating our region's natural hazard mitigation plans. So these are natural disaster plans. And there's a public component to this.
There is.
So check out our website, learn more about this, and if you have specific concerns, you can communicate through your towns, you can communicate directly to us.
Right.
Another project that we're just wrapping up now is we're doing a regional transportation safety plan to look at transportation safety issues for all users,
Right.
whether you're a driver, a user of River Valley Transit,
Right.
a pedestrian, or a cyclist. And that project is wrapping up. We got a federal grant that, under Safe Streets and Roads for All program to do this safety action plan and identify improvements that could help reduce accidents and help reduce, most importantly, fatalities.
Right.
And at the end of this project, which is coming up this year, we will be adopting a resolution setting a goal for it's called Vision Zero,
Okay.
where the goal is zero fatalities.
Yep.
And getting our transportation network safe enough so God forbid we don't have any more accidents.
Right.
And it's depressing when you drive on the interstate and you see the signs of how many fatalities have been on Connecticut roads, and you see it tick up. And so our goal is to get to zero.
Right. You think, how are things going to go with the survey?
For that project, for the
Yep.
regional safety plan, we're sort of at the end of the project. So
Okay.
really, we'd be looking for general comments to take a look at the
Gotcha.
draft
Oh,
plan. We did have some surveys early in the project, and we did do outreach to all the different towns. But we do have other projects going on in the region. And up in Middletown, they have their own Safe Streets and Roads for All project, which they're focusing on their major corridors up in Middletown.
Okay.
And I know that other towns have been interested in potentially doing more specific work on specific corridors. So there may be more of these plans done to look at, like maybe other high accent corridors. Okay. Yeah. And I don't know, Susie, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about economic development?
Economic
Sure,
development,
we can talk about economic development.
Sure, I used to do that in Old Saybrook, and now I've graduated to a larger area. And
used to do
very
that with
glad
me
to
in
be
Old
there.
Saybrook.
Yeah. I'm pleased to be doing it. It's exciting work.
Yeah.
We've recently created what's called a CEDS, a Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy
Okay.
for the entire region.
Ooh.
And again, that's one of those plans. We looked for public input, and there's always you always have opportunities to give me a call if you have thoughts or ideas. And we are implementing some of the goals and objectives in that plan. And one of those is to really focus on more development,
Okay.
which means revitalizing brownfields. So that's something
okay.
we've started to really look at. We're hoping, well, we're going to put in a grant at the federal level,
Okay.
requesting funds. But even if we aren't successful with getting grant funds through that, we're going to be moving forward with trying to identify and map all of the brownfields in the region, both known brownfields and suspected brownfields, so that we have an idea of where they are. And then we want to create criteria to identify which of those would be priorities for revitalization and look at those from a regional perspective to try to bring them back into productive use.
And if I may, just for your viewers,
Sure.
to define what a brownfield is.
Yes, please.
So, we have a long history of manufacturing in Connecticut, probably going back to the 18th century.
Right.
And over that time, there are sites throughout the state, throughout our region, throughout our towns that have either contamination from hazardous chemicals or suspected of having contamination from hazardous chemicals. And what it's done over time is put those parcels sort of as a quandary what to do with them, because people didn't want to own them because they didn't want to be responsible, but also there was a question whether it was safe to be there or not. But the real opportunity is that these places where former factories generally are usually in the center of our towns. They were usually major places of employment, and they're sitting fallow. And so they present an opportunity in being in great locations, usually in places that might have public utilities, like sewer or water. And if we can just unlock that potential through testing of the soil to find out if it really is contaminated, or doing a clean out where you remove the contamination and put in clean fill, and then you're opening up a prime site for new development and new activity, whether it be for manufacturing, for commerce, or for residential uses. So it's an exciting area of work, and we're so glad to have Susie taking that on.
Now, in the River Cog region, give or take, how many brownfields are there?
Oh.
We have a list of 75, but we know that doesn't include all of the suspected brownfields.
Oh my
Those
God.
are the ones that would be known that fit the definition.
Okay.
So there are more than that.
Okay.
And we're going to find them. That's part of our goal. We're going to find them.
And speaking of the General Assembly legislators,
Yes.
a few years ago there was some laws passed that limited liability.
Okay.
That sort of unlocked the potential here, that made it possible that a new owner of the site who wasn't responsible for that original contamination could go in, come up with a cost estimate, and actually do a project. In the past, contamination that flowed off-site could, possibly, it would be very difficult to know what you're getting yourself into. Now, a new developer is only limited in liability for what's on the site, which you can then calculate, okay, this is the cleanup cost for this volume of soil.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, related to environment too, Margot has we have an environmental planner who does some great work
Okay.
in
Yeah,
the river.
So one thing that was kind of fun for us is that a couple years ago we got a grant from the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection through a new funding source for aquatic invasives.
Okay.
Aquatic invasives are aquatic plants, water plants that are not meant to be in Connecticut. And we have water chestnut. We have this new one called hydrilla. And if we do nothing, they will take over the water body, and they'll essentially kill it. They'll crowd out every other plant. They'll crowd out insects and animals who rely on the regular plants, and they also make boating relatively difficult, if not impossible, in some parts of the river or lakes.
Really?
So we got a grant, we got a boat, and we have been running a seasonal program with seasonal workers to remove invasive water chestnut, and we've also been working on publicizing something called Drain, Clean, and Dry. This means if you're taking your boat out of the river or a lake, that you should clean it, you should drain it, and you should dry it to try to minimize carrying unsuspectingly some seeds or a piece of plant from hydrilla or from a trapple or some unknown plant that we don't know about, and carrying it to the next place where you put your boat in.
Right. Wow.
And
pretty cool.
Yeah, because that's what's happening is these plants just pop up,
right.
and with particularly for hydrilla, just a little stem of it can root in the mud in the bottom of the river or a lake, and grow it exponentially. And so these things are of huge concern. The Army Corps has been working in the Connecticut River to try to understand, the potential use of herbicides to control it. But that's an important program that we've been involved in for a while. And if there's any questions, please contact us. We can give you guidance as to if you find one of these invasive species, what to do. And typically, particularly for water chestnut, you yank it out and you put it on dry land and it dries out and it's fine. Okay. But with hydrilla, it is a much more complicated plant to deal with.
Well, we're about to say goodnight, but before we do, I want to thank you guys for both coming down. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yep. Oh, definitely.
And it's not going to take 10 years?
Yeah. Well, and maybe closer in the spring we'll get Janice to come talk about household hazardous waste.
All right, we can do that.
Yeah.
Sam
Great.
Gold, thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Pete.
Susie Beckman, thank you.
Always good to see you.
We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
On behalf of Susie and Sam, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night. We'll see you next week. The preceding program was brought to you in part by